system.
Yeah. The other thing that, George, we seem not to have talked about, or we seem to be losing sight of, is the fact of what can also happen.
Yeah.
Because remember I talked about the scenario where I think that we are in challenging times. Let us try our best to, for those of us who keep saying that our government should cut its expenditure, etc., let's try our best to keep saying that, because
you think that should be the option going forward in
it's one of the many options. And I think the debt exchange, the suspension of external payments, etc., they are all part. But the cutting expenditure should be part, because I am cutting expenditure as a company, and every company in these times will cut expenditure, right? Cutting expenditure is very important because it's the expenditure that requires government to continue borrowing. And remember, the state must continue to survive. So at the moment, there are two main sources of income for government, which is obvious. One is taxes, which we will continue paying. Remember, the VAT is now gone to 15%, and they are levied, etc., which means that notwithstanding the challenges, I have to pay more. Two is T-bills, which have not been touched yet. But the T-bills is also borrowing. Because if I take treasury bill, I'm hoping that I'll get taxes and payback. So every week there is an auction or whatever it is that, government keeps borrowing. If we don't take care, and we get to the point where the T-bills, and T-bills is still attractive. Yeah. If T-bills get to the point where interest on T-bills drop significantly and come to, I don't know whether it will ever get to single digit. I don't remember the percentage now, but it's double digit. But if we get to the point where T-bills become less attractive also, then suddenly government sources of earning pre-tax is going to be difficult. And then it will mean that government cannot spend, and we will have a lot of challenges. So we should pray against a worse scenario, which is why we must all cut expenditure.
And cutting that expenditure might help a lot in managing the situation right now, you think so? And also making those who are angry feel that they see government is doing something. So, could this expenditure thing being an alternative to this debt exchange program? It's not an alternative, but it is a collateral action that government must take. So if you look at the budget and you see that the deficit that the government is going to use is still high, then you want government to see whether in these times you can make such drastic changes. You know, the pain for businesses, which is what your program is about, is when you see GRA always coming after its tax, and that means companies keep coughing up more. But then you think that public expenditure is increasing. And when you say government should cut expenditure, you are not necessarily referring to politicians. I think people mistake government. Anytime you make comment, they think you are referring to a particular political party. Government expenditure has always been high. I've said this. Take Temaoyo Refinery debt, which I keep talking about. The one of the students in school.
Yes, if somebody mismanages Temaoyo Refinery and you impose a levy on me, that is tax. And if I find out 15 years later that I'm still paying it, but Temaoyo Refinery has still not been able to revamp, and that our raw oil is exported, and then we import oil, and then the dollar also goes up as a result of that because BDCs are complaining, etc. And the government of Ghana has to find, or Bank of Ghana has to find money for BDCs. And I'm like, what happened to the levy that we paid for Temaoyo Refinery? And then you see that it has its backward linkages or forward linkages. These are the real issues we need to deal with. Once we politicize them and split it over NDC and PP, we lose sight of the real problems. Look, the problems of this country have been existing and they are fundamental. If we put everything aside and want to address them, we can. And if we don't, businesses will continue to suffer. And businesses will not be able to expand and employ the people and reduce the unemployment that we all desire.